Okay, well, we're live right now. I accidentally hit the go live button just now because, after all, it's we're waiting for Anthony to come back. But yeah. Well, welcome back, everybody, because it's never a boring week in Rangers land. I, of course, let me get the nameplate down. I can't. Why is it taking so long for me to get these on? I, of course, Marc Williams, your host, and here is Mr. John Volkowski, my illustrious co-host.
We are both more organized and more highly functional than the New York Rangers front office. Well done.
Yeah, because we're starting off because we've already been commenting with you guys pre-live stream, and this one, Mike, you're 100% right on that. If it's about Libor Hayek, then this is completely crazy. But we're going to be going through all that right now. So as we wait for Anthony to come back, we're going to start off with the news. Vitaly Kravtsov did not make the opening night roster. He refuses a demotion to Hartford, and their team's going to allow him to seek a trade. Now, I always find that funny, Filk, because it's not like the player can dictate where he goes.
In this case, the player can dictate where he goes. And in this case, the player is right. And there are a lot of fans that I've seen on all platforms of social media that are blindly defending this organization for screwing it up with yet a second top 10 pick for the second year in a row. Okay, so if you're going to turn around and tell me that they screwed up both times with Lias, okay? Lias wasn't a great pick. I've said that in the past. It was a panic pick. They missed on Pettersson. And then you're going to tell me that they not only screwed up with him, but they screwed up with Kravtsov too. When does it start to become an indictment on this front office? When?
Well, part of the problem is
the boy cried wolf situation. Enough of it. Enough. Stop defending them.
I'm not defending them. I'm just taking all angles.
Several times.
But again, I was upset about this yesterday because, again, you had to run out Kravtsov. We remember when we had Guntoten and Granny come on Saturday. I was going to put on Sunday. I was going to put on the video of that. And I'm like, yeah, you cut Kravtsov, you better have a trade in place. They cut Kravtsov. There's no trade in place.
And they sent them down. And you know what? And the worst problem is that this organization has its priorities ass backwards. And I was just saying this before we went on, but the minute that they signed this guy on the back of my shirt, Artemi Panarin, they made this rebuild, or rebuild if you want to put that in quotation marks, because they accelerated this to no extent. They've made this all about speeding everything up and winning instead of the development of the players that they put at the forefront of that letter. When they sent out that letter in February of 2018, they told us that we are focusing on the future, that our rebuild was our number one priority. How is a rebuild your number one priority when you're playing Dryden friggin' Hunt in your top 9? Don't tell me that, because you're not going to sell me oceanfront property in Kansas. You're not going to do it, Chris Drury. You're not going to do it, Gerard Gallant. I'm not stupid. I was born in a day, and it wasn't yesterday, and I'll tell you that you can go to hell right now if you think you're going to pull the wool over my eyes on that one, because that ain't the case. There's something going on behind the scenes with this team. And whether it's the indictment of them screwing up with picks left and right, or whether it's the players that they're selecting and they're not getting the character issues that they're drafting them for down correctly and doing their research properly, or whether it's the players themselves, they are losing in the end. It's their fault. It falls on them. It's not the players. It's them. You cannot have Kakko, Filip, Julien Gauthier, Lias Andersson, Vitaly Kravtsov twice, and others go and complain to various media outlets that something's not right with this organization. Something's wrong. It needs to be addressed. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Chris Drury, because Chris Drury seems to kind of just let everything go. Whether it's Glenn Sather, who's magically playing Metallica's Master of Puppets as he's pulling the strings of everybody in the damn organization from above, or whether it's James Dolan himself that says, I want playoffs now, and he's just pushing everything to the wayside, just like he does with the Knicks. James Dolan, you can just take a hike, by the way. Please do. Just leave your money and take a hike, because this organization was so much better off when your hands were off of it. So you know what? I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't have an idea. I at some point I thought I did, but you thought that it was a good idea to play games with your number 2 prospect, your top forward prospect, and you think it's an even better move to put Dryden Hunt, a fringe NHL player. Where are your priorities? Where are your priorities here? They're nowhere to be found, because this is a joke. This is an absolute joke.
Okay. But
don't tell me to shut up, by the way, guy. I don't know who you are, but don't tell me to shut up.
Who?
There's some idiot in the comments telling me to shut up. Don't tell me to shut up.
Yeah. There's not really a shut up button on us. So it's just, does it ever kind of make you think that Gerard Gallant is probably the freshest pair of eyes on this? And it's not exactly like he was getting wowed by Vitaly Kravtsov.
Vitaly Kravtsov played better than Julian Gauthier and Dryden Hunt while being hurt in the preseason.
Okay. I mean,
I don't understand where the argument is that Dryden Hunt is a better fit for this team than Vitaly Kravtsov. I don't understand how you can say that you're prioritizing the future when you're putting on a fringe NHL player on your roster. I get it. They wanted to move Buchnevich because of the fact that they had to with the Kreider extension. Then on top of that, Jacob Trouba's dumb contract that was given out by Jeff Gorton. You know what? Maybe they don't want Kravtsov playing bottom 6 minutes. Maybe they don't. But how are you putting Dryden Hunt in this lineup? And if it's top 6 or bust for Vitaly Kravtsov, what does that tell you about the way that this organization is developing players? You're going to carry 8 defensemen on the roster, and one of them is Libor Hayek, who is
one of them is Libor Hayek. And I got to stop on that and kind of go with that. And again, it goes back to this. Because if you're going with Libor Hayek, as I said before, you have Nils Lundqvist, you have Matthew Robinson, you have Tom Marino, you got Braden Schneider, a litany of defensemen who have better potential than Libor Hayek. And it can't just be we got to salvage something out of the McDonough trade, because they already did. They got Nils Lundqvist. So it can't just be that. You know what? Brett Howden didn't pan out. Libor Hayek didn't pan out. You don't sacrifice one pick for another one. You don't also do that to justify a mistake, to save face. You don't do that. That's not how you organize a team. That's not how you run a team. Take the mistake, take the L, and move on from that trade. Cut ties. Libor Hayek is terrible. If you are worried about losing Libor Hayek to waivers, then this front office is more stupid and deserves far less credit than anyone has given them so far. It's terrible. It's a joke. And again, there's been worse situations where the player has gone back to the team and continued to play. Look no further than Vladimir Tarasenko right now in St. Louis, although that's a guy that had an established relationship. This is a rookie that's been jerked around now by 2 GMs and 2 team presidents. So, but Kravtsov felt he was ready to come here almost from day one. He didn't understand when they cut him with David Quinn, and now he kind of doesn't understand it right now. There has to be some transition with the North American game. There's got to be things that Gerard Gallant saw. I got to say it like that, because I can't match Filk's intensity right now. It's just not possible. He's so far beyond me.
What could Gerard Gallant have seen in Dryden Hunt? I watched all the preseason games. I was able to go back and watch the Ranger Islander preseason game. It was on the next day.
As a matter of fact, Dryden Hunt had an assist on Kravtsov's goal.
Yeah. Why is it that Vitaly Kravtsov is getting the shaft but somebody like Dryden Hunt is in the lineup. And then why is Dryden Hunt in the lineup over Julien Gauthier, who Gallant said also outplayed Kravtsov? Which I'm not – I don't buy that either. Listen, I'm not saying that Vitaly Kravtsov was the best player in this team in the preseason. But if
you know what?
I'm really not trying to say that. But at the same time, how are you going to tell anybody that Dryden Hunt and Julien Gauthier clearly outplayed him to the point where he deserved to be sent down, and you're not sitting Dryden Hunt in a press box right now? Like, listen, if it was the Tom Wilson thing and you wanted to just play them for a game, and you told Vitaly Kravtsov this, said, listen, this is a numbers thing. We're sending you down for one game. We brought all these guys in to combat Tom Wilson, so Tom Wilson doesn't hurt any of more of our star players. Okay, fine. I understand it. Jared Tenorti is clearly in the lineup for that reason over Nils Lundqvist. I get that. And I've said that. They were brought in here for this purpose, and really this purpose, to play against the bigger, heavier teams, and especially Tom Wilson. But at the same time, you can't put Dryden Hunt in your top 9. That tells me, okay, hey, we're just gonna put some fringe NHL player in our top 9 because we really don't have a clue of what we're doing, and we're gonna make clowns of ourselves just so we can go after Tom Wilson in game 1.
And now we're joined, of course, by our third member of the party, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Well, flashed up your banner, but it was already still had all the graphics on. But we're going on the Vitaly Kravtsov story. And what are your thoughts on that, Anthony?
I heard a little bit of Filk when I was waiting outside, and I agree with him. I agree with him.
Pretty sure the death would have heard Filk.
Fired up, but I agree with him. It's piss poor. It's piss poor asset management. You're talking, not counting Kakko, Lafreniere, count them as graduated. Your best forward prospect that you picked, what, ninth overall,
eighth.
You can't miss on that. It's a wasted pick, and they handled it wrong, all because they didn't want to risk putting Libor Hayek or Dryden Hunt on waivers. I mean, it's ridiculous. This kid has offensive potential to be a really good player, and now it's wasted because they're gonna trade him. And what are they going to get in return for him? I mean, they're not, like I said before, they're not really going to get much, and it's just bad. It's bad all around. It's Chris Drury really handled this poorly, and the mind blowing thing to me is they already experienced this 2 years ago when he went back to Tractor. The guy doesn't want to really play in the AHL, So this was an issue back then. Why in God's name did they think, okay, well, after trading Buchnevich and implying that there's a bigger role for him on the team, why in the right mind would they think that it would be okay to demote him to the AHL again? I don't understand it.
I got to agree with that. And that's one of those things you knew what was going to happen. You either had to have a trade in place or not, because the player was not going to go. We all know this. Whether or not he should or he shouldn't have.
Here's another thing that nobody's talking about. Something that nobody's talking about right now is that the KHL is clearly a better league than the AHL at this point. The level of talent over there is here compared to the AHL, which is about here. So why did they think that it was a good idea to send a player down who was unhappy there in the first place to an inferior league when you could have just let him go home and say, hey, you know what? You're probably not going to make this roster. We're going in a different direction. Let us send you back to Russia. You go play in Russia. You marinate over there. Look at the other players that have played over there for years before they came over. Artemi Panarin, the reigning Calder winner, Kirill Kaprizov, Evgeny Kuznetsov, who also played with Tractor, funny enough.
3 years, I believe he played there.
Vladimir Tarasenko. I mean, I'm sure I could probably think of other players that have played over there for years. Just those 4 off the top of my head. And they've become star-level players, if not elite. In the case of Panarin and Kaprizov, elite-level players. Sure, Kaprizov has only had 1 year, but he was playing at a very, very high level. But why would you not follow that recipe instead of rushing this kid over, stupidly, again, like they did with Lias Andersson?
Well, this is year 3, so...
I mean,
but that's what I don't get. And how can you not? And then how are there these fans out there that are sitting there and justifying and attempting to justify every single move this organization makes as if they're above reproach? You have a rookie general manager who made a really bad trade of Pavel Buchnevich and has signed some other questionable deals in Barclay Goodrow and Patrick Nemeth. And now all of a sudden this guy's above reproach because what? You're xenophobic and you don't like Russians?
Well, let's not go exactly that far.
I think
that's what it feels like.
I think you have to be cognizant to the fact that a lot of Russian players, especially the younger ones, have no interest playing in the AHL, as I said in the Facebook Messenger, riding buses, making peanuts, not knowing the language, adjusting to the Western way of life, where they could just go back to Russia where they're comfortable, play in a better league, and make more money. It doesn't make any sense, and the Rangers should have known this was going to happen, or should have seen this coming when they sent him down to Hartford. It's just it's clear as day, and you look at it goes back to Yevgeny Dadonov, played at Florida for a while, struggled, toured around with them. He went back to Russia. He came back. But the point is, that's what happens with these Russian players. They go back home if you send them to the AHL. Yeah, sure, there's exceptions to the rule. Shesterkin didn't sulk. He went there, played in the AHL. And that it does occur. But for the most part, Nikita Filatov, Mikhail Grigorenko, these guys go back to Russia because they don't want to play in the AHL. And it's something that the Rangers really, really handled poorly. And like I said, now it's a ruined pick because, like I said before, they're not going to get like a top prospect back for him, being it's out in the open that he wants out. Honestly, their best case scenario is it's a situation when he gets traded for another struggling younger player. But it comes a point where, do you really want to take on another, I'm not going to say headache, but do you really want to take on another young guy who hasn't lived up to the draft hype or status? Like Barrett Hayden was a good example that Filk brought up the other day. But in Arizona, granted, they're a bad team. He hasn't really showed much. So, it's a case of, I guess, where if the guy wants out, maybe you might as well do it. But the point is the Rangers blew this because it's a wasted top 10 pick.
I think it's more on the player in this situation, in this particular regard. Yes, he was jerked around. They basically said, you're going to be on this roster. We have a place for you. And who knows? Maybe he did not perform as well as they wanted him to, or maybe other guys were impressive. I know, Phil, you don't want to hear that one. I'm actually having trouble believing it because you see all the world of potential. We saw all the highlights of Vitaly Kravtsov for the last few years, him going bar down off the goalie's ear on the backhand. Remember that?
Yeah, that's not even the point, though. The point is that they asked him to do all these different things. They asked him to bulk up. He gained size. They asked him to work on his defense. He worked on his defense and clearly got better. They asked him to work on his board game. He got better. They asked him to work on his overall game away from the puck. He got better. And what is good enough? What is good enough for them?
And you know what? Who cares if Dryden Hunt outplayed him in camp? Okay, sure, maybe he did, but look long term. What is Dryden Hunt?
Exactly.
He's not a long term piece. What? So what? He'll play a better grinding game on the third line. Maybe be a little better defensively. What about a year from now? 2 years from now? Kravtsov has the ability to be a good offensive player. Dryden Hunt's not going to automatically just become this guy who scores 25 goals and wins the Selke Trophy. I mean, this is just I'm disgusted. This is just it's bad.
Another thing is Igor Shesterkin took the demotion to Hartford, lit it up down there, and by January was called up and basically owned the Rangers net. So you could have gone that route.
But these are all apples to oranges situations, though. You can't say that, just because he's Russian and he got sent down, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Forward and goaltender, yes. The depth charts and the way that it works and the opportunities, everything is different. It's different situationally. Not only that, but I believe that LK398 is somebody I follow on Twitter. And he actually made a great post earlier on today, if that is correct. Lucas, if that's you, then you made an excellent, excellent point earlier on today on Twitter that I saw. And the point that he made was that it's 2021. Somebody has got to wake up and understand that third liners are not all checking players and checking only players anymore like it was in 1998. It's not the same game anymore. Skilled players play on third line. The Buffalo Sabres of 2006 and 2007 had skilled players on their third lines that could play. You have to have 4 lines that can play hockey. Your third line is not going to be Detroit's grind line anymore. That's not how it works in today's NHL. And a lot of fans don't understand this. And they defend the organization because of it, because they've been hammered into their heads for 20, 30, 40 years, however long they've been watching, that your checking lines should be lines that are almost devoid of skill, but are good at checking. They're physical. They fight. They take penalties and so on. That's not how it works anymore. It's not it.
Yeah, the new template is Tampa Bay and the Gord, Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow line. That's what the new template is. People that can grind it out, defend, and put the puck in the net.
That's exactly what you want on the third line. Why would you not want Vitaly Kravtsov playing with somebody like Barclay Goodrow who can teach him these things? FIlip, good young center. You could have had that as your third line, and that would have been a really good third line. But no, you decided that you wanted Dryden Hunt, whose worth in value to this organization is shit going forward and over a top 10 pick.
And look at the equivalent. The Islanders are playing Oliver Wahlstrom on a third line with JG Pajot. It would have been a similar situation, and there's nothing wrong with a skilled forward like that playing on the third line.
Bingo.
And by the way, that's one of those things I can't help but shake my head about and go, gee, I'm envious of you right now, Anthony, because we're still going to do our season preview show on who's going to win the awards, who we think is going to win the cup, everything else. But we get this monkey wrench thrown in there, and we didn't even talk about this yet, guys. Get ready for this one.
You know what's gonna make this whole worse? If Oliver Wahlstrom continues on the trajectory that he did last season, every time Wahlstrom does something good, Ranger fans are going to point out that the Rangers could have drafted him over Kravtsov.
Well, right now, Kravtsov is starting to make us regret not keeping Pavel Brendel. That's what this is starting to look like, because that's the trajectory that he's on.
God, no. Yeah, that guy was the worst of the worst.
Yes, he was terrible. But the Rangers don't name a captain this week. They would name a third of their active players tonight as alternate captains. So, I mean...
So basically, on top of screwing everything up with Kravtsov, they screw this up again after telling people that they were going to name a captain. So... what makes anyone think that this front office has an idea of what they're doing right now? That's what I want to know. Please, somebody answer that honestly. Bro, well, please.
To me, I guess it could be Gerard Gallant. As of this moment, doesn't see an individual in the locker room who is a clear-cut choice for wearing the C, which, I mean, is fine. It's that, which, yeah, that's fine. It could be a case where he thinks it's a younger guy that's not ready yet. I mean, that's definitely possible. Or he just thinks that the guy's not in the locker room right now, which is a whole nother issue. But I mean, listen, it is what it is. I mean, the Rangers haven't had a captain in a while, so I get the fans, frustration over it. Eventually, you want a clear-cut leader of the team, but you'll have to wait at least another year.
It's just
I had to stand for that, Lucas. I had to.
You know what? This is where I stop, and I kind of just asked this question of, we were debating what one person could be captain or maybe even co-captains, and then 6 alternate captains. Are you kidding me? I think they missed a couple of fans. They could have made Dancing Larry an alternate captain while they're at it. But
slap an A on his jersey.
It's just why? Yeah, like why not? I mean, I remember that there was a team I played in high school that had like 6 alternate captains. We were all confused. Actually, no, they had 4 captains. It was Massapequa Chiefs, and we were all like laughing about it, going, "What the hell's going on here?" They're all pretty good players too. That was actually the funny part. It's just, as far as this goes, like the alternate captains, here they are right here. Panarin, Kreider, Zibanejad, Jacob Trouba, Ryan Strome, Barclay Goodrow. I mean, Ryan Strome, alternate captain. We needed to put that in. We needed to get Barclay Goodrow in a.
You know what? I'm gonna say right now that I don't have a problem with them not naming a captain due to the fact that they obviously didn't have conviction, anyone in this locker room. And last year would have shown you that. And you can't name Barclay Goodrow captain right off the bat. That would just, it would be a mockery. It would absolutely divide that room. 6 alternates, way too much. You should have went with 4. You should have went with 4, and Barclay Goodrow probably shouldn't have gotten an A right off the bat.
But, and if I believe record goes, there's 3 every game. That's what it is.
But I will tell you right now, I am okay with them not making a move that they did not have the utmost conviction in. But you cannot turn around and tell people that you're going to name a captain by opening night and then not do it. The front office looks bad enough as it is with the Kravtsov situation, which happened afterwards, ironically. Mm-hmm. And then you have this on top of it. This is a double-decker shit sandwich of failure coming into full notion, full swing. It's full circle. It's mind-blowing that this organization, that this front office could screw things up this badly. No, you'll know when my internet blows up. Trust me, you will. But this is ridiculous. Like, don't tell people that you're going to name a captain and then you don't name a captain. All that Gallant had to say was, we're going through it. We're going through the motions. I'm analyzing everybody on this team and trying to make the best possible decision that I could make in terms of a captain. No problem. No problem. But you went and you did that, and then you turned around and you named 6 alternates, and now you look like you couldn't manage your way out of a paper bag. A wet one with a knife. Actually, a machete. Sorry. But this
Anthony, what happens first? We know who the new James Bond is, or the Rangers captain?
New James Bond.
James Bond. I don't think you'll know who the Rangers captain is until next season, if they do name one at that point.
I think Ella's probably on her way to college by that point. By the time we have a Rangers captain,
Ella graduates with a master's before that happens.
I mean, the Rangers had somebody with the qualifications to be a Rangers captain on the roster. They had an American player named Ryan. That's it. For this, the last 2 were Ryan Callahan and Ryan McDonough. Ryan Lindgren could have done it. So I'm trying not to complain because we said that the honeymoon would last forever, or at least for a few more months. But I mean, it's just that
please.
I'm gonna try to trust Gallant on this one. Drury, I think, completely botched the Kravtsov situation. If it's for Libor Hayek, he should have been gone. Back to the captain, because that's where the topic is. I still think it should have been Chris Kreider. Whatever. Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, take a pick.
I don't want to hear it, fanboy.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay, well.
President of the fan club. I do not want to hear it.
All right, well, you know what? Name anyone. Have anyone do it. We know when Brian Leetch was the captain, Adam Graves was the vocal guy in the room, and he still had Wayne Gretzky there. And then in between the time when Brian Leetch was captain, Marc Messier was captain. I mean, we finally got over the Messier shadow that was on this organization, and now the answer is don't ever get a captain ever again.
Well, they've had captains since. I mean, Jaromir Jagr was a captain.
Yes,
Ryan
in his
Callahan
second
was a
season.
captain. Chris Drury was a captain. Ryan McDonough was a captain. I mean,
Big Lou.
Yeah.
I mean, McDonough.
I would take that if that meant that my team's front office wasn't an incompetent bunch of morons.
I mean,
more on Big Lou later.
I mean, the other thing just to say with that is, it's kind of a good thing if you're not the Rangers captain, because the last 2 captains have been traded. So, all right.
Okay, so let's name Jacob Trouba captain so we can get rid of that awful contract. Yay!
I mean, can't argue with that one. Yeah,
Problem
can't
solved.
argue with that one. We still got like another minute to kill before we get Dave Pagnotta on. But I guess we'll keep on going with this.
Man.
So, again, what was the player that you said before? Was Hayden?
Who?
For the Arizona prospect.
Hayden, yeah.
Barrett Hayden. Okay, so what's his background?
5th overall pick in 2018, 4 spots ahead of Vitaly Kravtsov in that same draft. Was a hero on Canada's World Junior team, scored a big goal for them on an assist from Alexis Lafreniere. He's a friend and teammate of Alexis Lafreniere's from that team. He's got talent. He's got potential, but he needs a change of scenery. And Arizona's another team where the management is stupid. You don't know what's going on there. They have stable ownership now, but their front office has been, even after John Chayka and the debacle with him and what he was doing that was illegal that ended up, getting them fined of draft picks, they still don't have great management. Yeah, so I really don't think that he's got a future there.
Mm-hmm.
Another option would be Dylan Strome. Maybe you go after Dylan Strome, who Pierre LeBrun just said yesterday is now going to be on the market and he expects to be traded in a week or two. I mean, you might as well take a chance on that.
Oh, Vitaly Kravtsov or Dylan Strome. Boom, there you go.
Yeah, but Dylan Strome, I mean, he the last couple of years he struggled, but he's a guy that's had a 50-point season. I don't know if the Blackhawks are going to trade him away for a guy
straight up, no.
who hasn't.
No, straight up they won't. But I mean, you got to remember. Here's Dave.
All right,
welcome, Dave.
Hey, boys.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us as you have your drive to check out the Leafs tonight. But I just wanted to start off with asking you about Brady Tkachuk. Obviously the season's underway, still not signed. Where do we stand with that? You hear a lot of things that he doesn't want to go long term. And also, does the 8-year, $63 million extension to Nick Suzuki come into play with what he might get, being that they've both averaged about 40, 45 points so far in their time in the NHL?
Yeah, I think that Suzuki's deal might benefit the Sens a little bit because it sounded like the numbers for him might have been higher. But yeah, I mean, you said it. This is basically a short-term versus long-term scenario, and who's going to budge first. Now, there were talks earlier on in the summer that it sounded at the time like things were moving positively towards a long-term 8-year extension, and obviously the season started last night, and he's still, I don't know if he's in St. Louis or if he's in Michigan. I think he went back to St. Louis. But that's kind of where things are at. So whoever kind of budges first, I mean, that's when we'll start to see some additional progress at this stage. But, you got to keep in mind, from Ottawa's perspective, I mean, they're not naming a captain. So it's clear that they view him as the next captain. Mm-hmm. They're not up against the cap. They got the most cap space in the league. They're not a cup contender at this stage. So, you wait it out. And would they rather him be there? Obviously, and of course, but it's not as pressing as it might be for other teams in other scenarios. If they were a cup contender or on the cusp, then there'd be a lot more panic. But I'm just not seeing it from Ottawa, which is why they seem willing to dig their heels in.
Now, just a quick follow-up there. With Willie Nylander a couple of years ago, if you remember, he literally took to like 458 on December 1st to get his contract signed. Do you think it could possibly go as far as that, or is it not nearly as contentious yet?
I mean, it really depends, again, how hard each side is willing to stand firm. As of now, anything is possible. It wouldn't shock me. But it doesn't, at least the message that's being put across from both sides is that it's not getting there. Not anytime soon. So is there a stalemate? Yeah. Are they optimistic that one side's going to bend a little bit and really get this thing rolling again? Also, yes. So, I mean, we just got to kind of wait and see. And again, like with Willie's deal, you know, it affected his overall cap hit because he signed mid-season and it adjusted the numbers. The Sens don't care if that happens because, again, they've got, you know, they're just above the floor. So for them, it doesn't matter.
Dave, now with the bombshell about Dylan Strome being dropped yesterday by Pierre LeBrun, what are you hearing about him? Are you hearing that any teams are interested, or any specific teams at this point, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, with it's funny because both him and Ryan Strome were, you know, rumored to be available over the course of the summer, and Ottawa had inquired about both, and there was belief that one of them was going to the Senators. They just couldn't figure out who. And, I mean, it hasn't happened yet, and Ryan's for now staying in New York. But with Dylan, I believe the Sens have re-engaged on that front. I think Buffalo to a certain extent as well. He's got a $3 million cap hit. He's effectively being used as a fourth-line guy in Chicago. He's fallen out of favor there. Can he be a legit 3C guy? Can he move up on another team and be a 2C, and then hopefully he you know, lives up to some of the potential? I think given the right opportunity, that's possible. But, you know, it's really going to come down to what the asking price is. I don't know what that price is at this point. But, you know, again, he's an RFA at the end of the summer, or at the end of the season, in the summer, and he's got arbitration rights. So that'll play a bit of a factor into what type of price is really going to be paid once he gets moved, because certainly sounds like it's a matter of when and not if. The when, though, I mean, we're still early on in the season, so this could be something that drags out for a little while.
Dave, we had an entire rundown ready to go, and then the New York Rangers made us scrap some of it because of the Vitaly Kravtsov situation. We were just talking about it before you got on. Just, I guess, how is this going to end?
I mean, if it follows the trend now, it ends on him being on a different team. I mean, I don't know if you want to blame the Rangers. You might want to blame him, but more than anything. But look, you know, this is a guy that the anticipation was he was going to be making the team. That there wasn't really any talk of if you don't, or if you have a crappy camp, or this, that, and the other, then we got to discuss some options. The mentality was he was being put on this roster, and he was going to be part of the Rangers this season. And things changed because he had a subpar camp in their eyes. So, I mean, at this point, like he's you know, unofficially asked for a trade. He's you know, unofficially wink wink nudge nudge. The agent's been given permission, as it's been reported. He wants a change. He wants to be in an environment where he feels he can be an everyday NHLer and then climb the ranks from there into being a legit top 6 offensive threat. So now it comes down to how much pull can Dan Milstein have, his agent, in trying to up his value and potential to another team. And then it's up to Drury and his crew to figure out what the right package is and what they want. I mean, do they want to move him and just say, the hell with this, and we'll give you picks and prospects, or we'll take picks and prospects, or do they want to package it and maybe bolster the defensive core, or, you know, another part of the roster? I mean, you look at the Rangers, they're a lot deeper than I think a lot of people anticipated they would be to start this season. So maybe it's the defensive core that they look to bolster, or you combo it and you bolster that, or you just say the heck with this and we'll get prospects and picks. But it's still too early. But the fact that the agent is helping the process along, that typically bodes well in these situations.
Just to follow up, is there any chance of reconciliation?
I mean, sure, the Rangers could turn around and say, our bad. We think that, you know, you can be an everyday guy and we'll slot you in the roster right away. That's what it sounds like. So, I mean, the longer this drags out, the more of an opportunity it is for the player to, you know, sit back, suck it back and go, all right, I'll eat this for now. I'm an RFA in the summer. We'll go from there. So that's a possibility too. But again, this is still fresh. I mean, you know, I'd say about a week ago, there was an indication that he probably wasn't going to be making the team. And that's when that process started to get going from the agent side of things. So, I mean, we'll see how things progress here in the next little while.
Now, Dave, I'm sick of really talking about this guy, but with Jack Eichel, it's been going on forever. There's about
I'm not sure we ever mentioned Jack Eichel's name.
It was like,
we just lost 5 viewers.
I believe it was a week ago. It was reported that maybe things are progressing a little bit. I'm a little skeptical still about it. There's a lot of money that would have to go back the other way, and he still has the issue about which procedure he's going to have, and he hasn't had a surgery yet. So, I mean, do you really think there has been progress, or do you think this is something that still, may, take a while to play out here?
I mean, there's been some progress in the entire saga, I guess. One chapter has been figured out. Another one is almost there. The big chapter, the climax, is obviously figuring out what the hell the package is going to be. But the fact that more teams, because I think I reported in summer too, that some teams were given some indication of his medical records, and now appears that they've seen more of it, and other teams have as well. But at this stage, guys, look, it sounds like teams are comfortable, or at least majority of the teams still in the mix are comfortable with the artificial disc replacement surgery. So now it's a matter of how the heck do we figure out what type of packages is going to be. Well, you wanted a minimum of 4 key assets, 4 top-tier prospects or first-round picks or equivalent as part of a package for Jack Eichel. Well, okay, we're going to give you 2, and the other 2 will be in the compensation fashion or equivalency, or we're going to give you 2, top-tier assets. We're going to give you a B or a C, and then we're going to add some terms to the deal that would allow for really getting creative in this. Saying, okay, if he comes down to that, do I think, names in Calgary, San Jose's, Columbus's, do I still think they're kicking around? I do. The Rangers were to a certain extent until they got Zibanejad locked up. And now, I mean, look, from San Jose's side of things, first of all, they got to know what the heck's going on with Vander Kane, because that's $7 million off the books currently. But if he somehow miraculously is cleared of all the negative stuff that's against them with respect to the investigation the NHL is doing, breaking protocols and fake vaccine passport and all that stuff. If he's cleared of all that, then he comes back on the team. If he's not, then it sounds like his cap hit will remain off the books. So that gives the Sharks a little bit of flexibility there. But we'll see kind of how things go. I mean, again, there's clarity, and there seems to be, at least these teams seem to be comfortable with the disc replacement surgery. It's just a matter of how do we finagle the right package to make everybody happy, and we're not there yet. But, as I reported last week, Pat Barzal is fully engaged in this, the agent, and is helping out as well. So that usually helps, especially with Pat's track record.
Dave, I saw your article earlier on about John Klingberg. If you were a betting man, do you say that this gets done, and how soon do you think it would get done?
Well, as of now, not very soon. I reported this yesterday on NHL Network and then wrote about it, as you said, today with respect to his situation. They were working towards an 8-year deal, or at least that was the focal point, was an 8-year extension. That's what he wants, and it sounds like that's what the team was willing to do, but they're just far apart on the dollars and the structure of everything. So, I mean, unless this really escalates in the next couple of days here, this is probably going to be something that gets dragged out. And then you kind of go from there. There's no set deadline. I mean, Klingberg and his agent are willing to have this go throughout the season. Obviously, the agent will focus on everything, Peter Whalen. But we'll see how things kind of roll there. He was disappointed about not getting a deal before the start of the season. He thought they'd be able to get there. At least that was the impression when they started the negotiations in the summer. right before camp. But, still no deal, and this could be something that drags out. Again, there's no set deadline, but I would be very surprised that if they don't get a deal done by the trade deadline, I would be surprised if he doesn't at least hit the market as a free agent to see what the value is there. So the Stars kind of have to decide what type of risk they want to take.
Our guest is Dave Pagnotta from the Fourth Period. Now, Dave, I gotta ask about my boys in the blue and orange here. We had Dan Rose on a couple weeks ago, and he said that there's really no real holes in the Islanders lineup. If you look, maybe left side defense, and a lot of people in the media are giving them love to win the division, go to the finals. But I do agree there are weaknesses on the left side. After Adam Pelech, you're talking Zibanejad Char and Andy Green, older. So, and this is, a couple of months out, but could you see at the trade deadline the Islanders targeting a left-hand defenseman, maybe Hampus Lindholm got 1 year left in his deal? I know Matthias Ekholm would have been perfect, but he re-signed in Nashville. But is that the position that you could see the Islanders making a move for come the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, if everything is working smoothly and, the season's going well, you don't want to tinker too much with the chemistry. So I would imagine that's probably, barring injury or anything like that, I would imagine that's probably the area that they would want to address. Perhaps get a little bit more speed on that left side, more than anything. Not necessarily. You've got the responsible guys in your own zone from a defensive aspect, but perhaps you want to have somebody that's a little bit more mobile that can play that left side, which was one of the reasons they had Gustafsson at camp. Was to see if he'd be able to gel fit and can they make something work dollar-wise to get him in there. But a little more offensive, a little bit more mobile. That's probably something that they would address later on. Of course, barring any other holes in the lineup. But you're right. I think that's the primary because they like the makeup of their team, and quite frankly, so do I.
Yeah. Dave, we were just talking about this a minute ago. With all the people that were named Rangers alternate captains yesterday, were you named one of the Rangers alternate captains? Because they basically have everybody.
No, but I heard Leach and Messier and Richter were given honorary A's again, part of this team. And that's a lot, boys. Like that's you
can't put an A on a goalie.
No, he's not playing anymore, so
that's true.
Honorary.
So you mean to tell us that Messier is double dipping?
He is, he's on the broadcast side. He's not allowed to talk about the Rangers per se because of this, but no, I'm just kidding. Look, that's a weird one. That obviously, we're joking about it a lot. We're not the only ones, trust me. I had a buddy of mine that plays on another team and asked why are they giving so many guys the A? But look, there's people around the league talking about it, but they like their leadership group, and I guess that's what they want to roll with for the time being. So it's an odd one, but whatever works.
So Dave, before we let you go, we play a game, a segment on a show. It's called Bar Talk, as one of Marc's profession is a bartender. We have a statement, and then you take a shot if you think it's not going to happen or it's wrong. A beer if you kind of like lie in the middle, or
I would love to play this game in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll arrange that sometime.
So,
right.
I'll give you one on top. It'll be the first guest to actually play this with us, but. The statement is the Blue Jackets are rushing Cole Sillinger. So do you take a shot on that, a beer, or are you buying everyone around?
I was too busy making a joke about it. So what are the rules? Hold on. What are the rules again? If I agree, I take the drink.
So if you agree, if you agree, it would be you buying everyone around. If you lie in the middle, it's a beer, or if you think it's wrong, not close, you're taking a shot on it.
Okay. I don't think they're rushing him. I think he had a hell of a camp. So I guess I'm taking the shot. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a shot.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm writing this down, by the way, or at least mentally. I'm driving, so I'm mentally jotting this down for later on. So
yeah, we don't need you doing shots while you're driving.
Yeah, no, no thanks.
So you looking forward to covering the Leafs game tonight?
I'm looking for. You know what? I'm looking forward to a full building on this side of the border. Obviously, it's been a while up here, so I'm looking forward to that more than anything. The atmosphere, everything that's there. Kind of hoping that the Leafs found a way to change their goal song. I don't think that's the case. It's
Not a fan of Hall &
Hall
Oates?
Hall & Oates is still great.
Look, I love Hall & Oates, but I mean, for this goal song that's been going on for whatever, I mean, since Brendan Shanahan took over, he changed the goal song to this. I don't think people know this, but this is Brendan Shanahan's decision. That's the goal song, so it's sticking unless there's some huge shift and he's caving to everybody's pressure. But that'll stick around. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just a full building out here in the Leafs and Habs. And if the Leafs lose, just how panic-driven the city of Toronto will be, because it's game one, so why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, that's certainly true. All right, well, we'll let you go, Dave, but thanks for joining us. We always appreciate when you make time for us, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me, as always, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, and there we go. And by the way, Dave Pagnotta, our first guest ever, went back when we were ATR still, so that's always great. And by the way, Hall & Oates, that's a good song to keep. Maybe I don't know. Maybe change their victory song since we can't hear it in the playoffs. So, we're gonna actually, guys, we're gonna move on to our season preview, and our season preview, we're gonna say who's gonna be the division winners, who's gonna win the Calder Trophy, who's gonna win the Hart, and we're gonna start with the trophies. So, guys, first things first. Who do you have winning the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year?
I'm going to say Cole Caulfield is going to win the Calder. I just think that I could see him scoring somewhere between 25 and 30 goals, and maybe even more than 30 if things run right for them. He'll try to keep Montreal in playoff contention. I think ultimately Montreal is going to miss it because Shea Weber being out for the year is going to hurt their defense big time. Carey Price being out indefinitely is going to hurt them even more. But Cole Caulfield is going to probably play with Nick Suzuki, and I think they're going to make some magic together. So I think Cole Caulfield's going to win it.
Anthony.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a bar talk, and I was hiring Quentin Byfield for this, but reflection as the season getting closer, and especially he suffered an injury in camp. But I'm going to go Cole Caulfield too. I mean, the guy, he's not big in stature, but he's got a lethal shot, a really quick release. He's got a nose for a net, and his hands are ridiculous. And yeah, I agree with Filk. He's had some good chemistry with Suzuki, and I think he's going to score a bunch of goals, possibly 30. And I don't think he's going to run away with it as Kaprizov did last season, but I think he'll win it. And just as a sidebar, I Trevor Zegras will be close behind him in second.
I'm actually going to go completely different, and I'm going to go with an off-the-rails pick, like completely off the radar. I'm going to go Moritz Seider. I think he might get the number one job for the power play in Detroit, and he might be putting up some numbers because somebody has to. That's just the way to do it. Like Thomas Chabot a few years ago had a great season with the Ottawa Senators, but I don't even think he was a finalist. But I have to give a different name besides Cole Caulfield, who has a really good chance at it. Before we go to all the positions, Anthony, we'll start with you. Who's going to win the Rocket?
I'm gonna say it's Austin Matthews. He had a hell of a year. A guy almost scored 50 goals in a 56-game season. He had that wrist injury. I think he'll be ready for the start of the season here tonight. But I think as long as he stays healthy, I think it's his to lose. I mean, you can't count out Pasternak, and of course, Ovi, who's chasing Gretzky. But I think Austin Matthews is going to take it home.
Ovi chasing Gretzky. Can he score 890? Anyway.
Oh,
Filk.
God. Yeah. I got to go with Matthews as well. I don't know if there's a better goal scorer in the league right now. Alexander Ovechkin's obviously arguably the greatest goal scorer ever, but Alexander Ovechkin right now at 36 years old is not Alexander Ovechkin at 26. So this is a completely different story now. Matthews has definitely surpassed him. I want to say that it's going to be Matthews, and I don't know who battles him for it. Probably Pasternak would probably come close. Maybe someone out of nowhere really kind of joins the race. Maybe Mikko Rantanen steps his game up goal scoring wise this year, or maybe Nathan McKinnon breaks 40, and starts getting close. So,
I didn't want to go with a clean sweep for the Calder Trophy. We're going to do it right now. Austin Matthews, if he's healthy, he's leading the league in goals. The only argument is, does he get 60? Filk?
I had to put that up there just because I got you.
Again, it's not my best song.
No, but if we're going, we should have saved that for bar talk, Mark. Jeez, you took away.
What? We could have done. We could still do
bar
that
talk already with the Matthews thing. So now we're going to take away 2 topics. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm going to say beer. It's more than possible that he hits 60, but I don't see it.
Anthony?
Shot.
No. You know what? I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. So there you go. I'll type it in while we're doing the other ones. We'll go back to it.
And the reason why I say this year he's playing against every single team, not just the North Division. So I think it's going to be he's not going to have an easier time as he did last season.
You know what though? In the North Division, they didn't play any defense, but he's going to play some weaker teams that weren't in his division. You got to remember, he's going to play more of Buffalo. And Buffalo's weak. He's going to play Montreal. Montreal, to me, is a weaker team than they were last year. He's going to play the other weaker teams. He's going to play Detroit, which they're in their division as well. So that's another weak team that he can feast on. He's gonna see other weak teams. So
yeah, I gotta agree with that. And they might have to run and gun this year. I particularly don't love their defense, and I don't love their goaltending. So we'll see about that. Not that I wish ill on anybody. So guys, who's gonna win the Vezina Trophy? And I'm going to save my analysis on this one for last because I was looking at it today and going, really? But Filk, you first.
I know this is such an easy pick because he's considered the best, but I've got to go with Andrei Vasilevskiy because this year Tampa Bay does not have the stacked team that they've had the past 2 years, or the past 3 years, I should say, when they won 62 games, tied the NHL record, and then won the back-to-back Stanley Cups. They lost their entire third line. They've lost some depth players. They just lost one of their top prospects in waivers. This team is affected. So Andrei Vasilevskiy has led the NHL in wins the last 4 years in a row. I can't remember the last goaltender that did that. So I got to say Vasilevskiy because he's gonna get a lot of wins. He probably still might lead the league in wins again on, like I said, a lesser team. And his numbers are going to be right near the top, and he's not going to have some great defensive system in front of him. So I'm going to go Vasilevskiy.
Anthony?
I mean, I hate to agree, but yeah, I mean, it's Vasilevskiy. He's the best goalie in the world. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck could give him some competition for it. Robin Leonard. I don't know. But I think it's going to be Vasilevskiy. He's his size and quickness is just, top notch. And Tampa Bay, while I think losing that whole third line will hurt them, and it's one game, so you don't read into it, but they didn't look very good last night. But I still think they're going to be a really good team. And I think Vasilevsky's going to be at the head of the table.
So this was my analysis in this today. Do you guys know who were the last back-to-back Vezina Trophy winner was?
Back-to-back Vezina trophies. Dominic Hasek.
Hasek.
Martin Brodeur, 2007 and 2008.
2007 and 8, yes. Okay.
There's only one repeat winner active in the league right now. Know who that one is?
One repeat active winner? Okay, it's not Fleury. Luongo retired.
Harry Price.
No?
No, Carey Price has only won one.
Yeah.
Um,
And in my opinion, he stole one from Henrik Lundqvist, not Carey Price. This guy.
Quick.
No.
No, Quick hasn't never won it, I don't think.
Sergei Bobrovsky. And
wait. Hold on one second. Back-to-back winner?
No, not back-to-back winner. Repeat winner.
Yeah, that's a back-to-back winner.
Okay, he won. That he had two. That's what I'm trying to say with that.
You can't say repeat winner. Repeat winner means that they won it in 2 consecutive years. If you're going to say multiple time winner, you got to say multiple time winner. That completely changes everything.
All right, my bad on the wording. Okay,
no,
going further to the point.
Not just my bad.
Going further to the point. Vasilevsky. It seems like they're just being a little bit overly sentimental and trying to figure out who to give it to. So again, I'm going off the board. If this guy stays healthy, I think he wins it. It's Darcy Kemper.
Yes, thank you, Chris T. Repeat means back to back.
All right, I misworded it. Okay, but again, it's just it seems to me like they're almost trying not to name the same person a winner because Vasilevsky could have multiple ones.
No,
Henrik
Joe,
Lundqvist
not all the people in the chat understood.
All right. But moving on to the Norris. Guys, tell me there's no way the press does not vote for Cale Makar.
I can't say that they just vote for Cale Makar for the sake of voting for Cale Makar. Yes, the voters seem to have back-to-back steel cage matches. Okay, I'm for that. But you can't just go and say Cale Makar is just going to win the Norris. You can't. I know that they tend to lean towards points, but what if Adam Fox has another season like he had this past year? And I'm not saying Adam Fox is going to be a back-to-back winner because it's tough to win the Norris back-to-back. The last back-to-back winner of the Norris Trophy happened to be Nicholas Lidstrom, and that's one of the 3 best defensemen of all time, probably. So I could see Hedman winning it again, especially if he puts up like 60 to 70 points. They're going to look at him and say, hey, Tampa has a reduced team, and Hedman is still playing at an elite level. So there goes Victor Hedman. I'm going to have to go with Victor Hedman.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the obvious choice. I'm going to go with Darian Hatcher. I'm gonna go Cale Makar. Cale Makar, the guy, it just seems like you could see it coming. I mean, he's really skilled. He's gonna play on an Avalanche team. I know we're gonna get to the President's Trophy prediction, but
yes,
he's gonna play on an Avalanche team that's gonna be in contention to win that. They're a high octane, fast paced, high scoring team. And the guy is, for a defenseman, the way he skates and moves laterally and his just puck skills, he's really, really good. And I think he's going to get his due, and he's going to win it this year.
Libor Hayek will win the 3 Norris trophies.
I will fall over dead on my face.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Cale Makar pretty much no matter what. Season ends tomorrow. That they'll vote for Cale Makar. That being said, Adam Fox won a Norris for a team that didn't make the playoffs.
He was the first one to do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. But I also think Cale Makar didn't have enough games because he had an injury during the season. That's why Fox did that, even though the Rangers offense went nowhere.
Here's a dark horse for you. Miro Heiskanen. I think he's the second best. I think he's the second best skating defenseman behind Cale Makar. And he's very good. If he played on a team let's say not in Dallas, if he played for the Montreal Canadiens or the Maple Leafs or the Rangers or, the Bruins, he would be much more highly regarded. I think Miro Heiskanen is
He needs to put up the offensive numbers, though.
He
hasn't really put up the numbers that would get him close. And there is precedent for defensemen getting the Norris based on points. Paul Coffey in 95. Paul Coffey was not the best defenseman in the league in 1995, but he won the Norris. Erik Karlsson in 2012.
Yeah.
In his own zone, he was average at best.
Yeah.
And Shea Weber had, I think, a 50-point year that year and didn't win the Norris, but Erik Karlsson won it. PK Subban in 2013 won the Norris because of offensive numbers, and he's horrible defensively. So there is a precedent. I could see it happening, but I think if Victor Hedman has another 60 to 70-point season, they're going to look at this and say, hey, Kel McCarr is on a President's Trophy winner. Victor Hedman is on a team that's not a President's Trophy winner, but they're still a good team, Victor Hedman. And Victor Hedman's got name power, which is another thing Norris voters usually do, is they go to the guy with the reputation. It's a mob mentality type thing with these voters.
And that happens a lot, so many times. It's like the Gold Gloves in baseball. They're just like, that guy's a good fielder. Not looking at metrics or anything else, or whether or not their skills are diminishing. All right, so now, guys, we got to say who the MVP is. Filk, you're going to start this one because I think I know the name you're about to throw out there.
I wanted to say Connor McDavid because I think Connor McDavid's going to have another ridiculous season, but I think that his team is going to excel, and I think it's Nathan MacKinnon. I think this is the year that Nathan MacKinnon finally says, screw this, I'm going full Michael Jordan, like he's basically done already with his words, and he's just going to drag everybody, and he's going to be that guy that basically turns into a Michael Jordan type. No, you need to be better. No, you need to be better. This is how you get better. This is how you get better. And I think he's going to win the Hart Trophy.
And lastly, going with that mentality, you guys aren't doing it. Screw it. I'll do it. I'll carry us. Anthony.
I mean, I think it's one of three possible players: McKinnon, McDavid, or, in my opinion, Leon Draisaitl. The guy's amazing, but I'm gonna go McDavid. I mean, the only way I don't see him winning it, and don't get me wrong, 100 points is ridiculous. But if he just, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if he just scores 100 points, and McKinnon maybe reaches 100 or even the high 90s, and that being that the Avalanche may win the President's Trophy, I could see it going to McKinnon instead. But I have a feeling McDavid's going to go off and score like 120 to 130 points. And because of that point total, he's going to win it again. So my pick is McDavid. Off to you, Mark.
I want to say my pick from last year, but I can't. It's going to be McDavid. The caveat is I will always put my second pick to be Sebastian Aho, because one of these days I just have a feeling he's going to take off. But no, it's McDavid. McDavid is everything to the Edmonton Oilers, and he's probably going to score, I'll say 130, 140 points this year. There's no way he can't.
If he scores 140 points, there's no way anyone else is winning the MVP. I will put money on that. If he scores 140 points, he would be the first player to break that mark since Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr in 1996. I mean, that's 25 years right there.
I know, that's unbelievable. And he had 100 points in 56 games last year. I mean, that
was on pace for over 150.
Yeah, and he's playing in a team that has a rebuilding LA team, a rebuilding Anaheim team, an expansion team. He's playing in a division, I mean. So he's got Vegas that's in the Pacific. And, I mean, what other tomato cans are there? Vancouver? So he might get 150. And then we're going to have to debate on who's more valuable to the team, and that a never-ending debate of the most outstanding player. But fortunately, hockey's got that. To the team stuff, guys. Who are your division winners for the 2021-22 season? Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
Well, we did our Metro one, so I mean, I don't know if it's, but
No, we did the power rankings.
no, we picked division winners.
No, we picked the division winner for the Metro.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's, well,
yeah.
Yeah.
So excluding the Metro, I think the Panthers are going to win the Atlantic. The Pacific, I think Vegas is going to win. And the Central, I mean,
Colorado.
you gotta go with Colorado.
We're almost unanimous on this because, by the way, if you missed it last week, Anthony and Filk both said the Islanders are going to win the division. And I said the only team that isn't going to win the division, that the only team that can beat them for the division is the Carolina Hurricanes. That's it. That's what I got.
I don't even think that's the case. I don't see.
I'm not in love with their goaltending. I
like their forward group better than the Islanders just because I think they have more top end talent. But I think the Islanders might have a slightly deeper forward group. The Islanders are winning the Metro. I don't have a doubt about that. And I'm with Anthony on this. Florida, I think, is winning that division. I think Florida.
I'm with you on that too.
And I also think Florida, if Matthias Ekholm wouldn't have been signed and extended by the Predators yesterday, I think we would be looking at Florida and the Islanders in a arms race for his services at the deadline. I still think Florida is going to make a trade for a top 4 defenseman at the deadline. And I think they're going to get their guy. That's going to put them over Tampa to win that division. I think that Colorado is absolutely winning the Central. And in the Pacific, it's Vegas. What competition does Vegas have to win that division outside of maybe Edmonton? So
nope, they got nothing. And we're all in agreement about the Florida Panthers as well. They're going to be a hell of a team this year. So they're poised for a monster year. The only question is who their goalie's going to be. Is Bobrovsky going to find it again, or is it going to be Spencer Knight taking the reins in only his second season? And even at that second season, it's kind of a light. He's a rookie. He can be rookie of the year too.
You're right about that. I would say that Bobrovsky has to be a major bounce back player of the year candidate.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but you have Spencer Knight, who looked amazing in the playoffs last year for them waiting in the wings. So they have one of the better goaltending tandems in the entire league as well.
By the way, that could be a dark horse MVP candidate in Alexander Barkov, considering that he gets nominated for the Selke and also he could put the puck in the net. So
could you imagine if he becomes the 6th player in NHL history to score 90 or more points and win a Selke in the same season? That's gotta put him top 3 in MVP consideration.
It would in my mind. All right, boys, your President's Trophy winner. I think we all might have the same one. So, Filk, go ahead.
Colorado.
Anthony.
Colorado it
is. Clean sweep. So, lastly, who will win the East and who will win the West and who will hoist the Stanley Cup? I'm going to go with mine first, so that way Anthony can smile when he says his.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this too, but yeah, go ahead.
We didn't talk about this last week, but we're doing it for the league-wide preview. I have the Colorado Avalanche over the New York Islanders in 7 games. Filk.
I have Tampa Bay over Colorado in 6 games. I think Tampa Bay is going to make 2 moves at the deadline. I think they're going to possibly bring in a defenseman. And if they don't bring in a defenseman, they're going to go get 2 forwards. And I would not be shocked if one of those forwards is Phil Kessel. And what a fit he would be. That the salary, you imagine Arizona retaining on him, bringing him in to help fortify your offense. And then maybe another checking type player on top of that. Tampa would be right back where they were. And I think they would take the East at that point. And I think Colorado, this is finally the year. I think Colorado might go out and get themselves a defenseman by the deadline too. if they're not, especially if they're not happy with Bowen Byram's progress.
If Kemper's healthy, that's the difference. I was not a believer on Grubauer, and I wasn't a believer on whoever the other guy was. I forgot.
Yeah, I need Kemper to.
Pavel Francouz.
Yeah, Paulo Francois. So, no, absolutely not. Anthony, go ahead.
Well, your lips to God's ears, NYR Mike, but because I'm a glutton for punishment and the reverse jinx, I'm gonna say that the Vegas Golden Knights defeat the Islanders in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I'm crushed for the third year in a row. But the reason why I say Vegas is because they're a great team as is, and probably in the top 4 Cup contenders. But I think they're going to finally upgrade Chandler Stevenson, centering Pacioretty and Stone. I think they're going to get a legitimate center, whether they trade for Tomas Hertl or Claude Giroux's not talking contract extension with the Flyers until the summer. Maybe if the Flyers are out of it, they make the decision to move him. But I just think they're going to do something to get deeper at center, because let's face it, boys, you can't win with Colin Stevenson as your number 2 or number 1 center, whichever line you want. Yes, sorry, whichever line you want to think is number 1, whether it's a Carlson line or that line. But he needs to be upgraded. He's more of a bottom 6 center. But if they do that, they have the rest of the tools to win the cup, and I think they're ultimately going to do it.
Short side note before we move on, but Colin Stevenson would actually be a good guest to get for us for Newsday for the Rangers.
Yeah. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah,
that would be a really good guest to get. So
hopefully it'll be like last year, Anthony, when Yanni Gourde scored and all the Islander fans chanted, "Fuck, fuck, fuck." Anyway, but
what?
So, I was gonna go with "damn it," but then I was like, the hell with it. All right. So, all right. So that's our Stanley Cup predictions, guys. What do you think? You just so a lot of people have been agreeing with us. There's going to be things that are going to happen during this season. We're going to have some craziness. Can't wait to find out what it is. So, whatever you think, are we off or is somebody going to win the cup? Put it all down in the comments below. All right. We're going to do the bar talk, and I still didn't upload the new video. So
I'm going to take a shot on this one. I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh, my God.
Again, Filk, it's actually in the edits. It's not in the live stream, so it's all right. And can I ask you this question, Anthony, before we get too far? Is Baba Ganesh right here? Like, is their window closing or is it opening?
I don't see why, because, I mean, if you look at I understand you posing that question, but if you look at it, Matt Barzal is still young. Anthony Beuvillier is still young. Noah Dobson's very young. Ilya Sorokin's 25 years old. And then guys like Brock Nelson, the older veterans like 28, 29, 30, they still have a lot of hockey left in them. And then I forgot Oliver Wahlstrom. They're an old team because the ages like Chara bring them up in the age, and Andy Green. But the positions that matter, they have a lot of young pieces still. I mean, I didn't even mention Adam Pelech and Ryan Pullock. They're young. So no, I mean, I don't think their time is running out. And also too, after this season ends, when you take off all the guys of expiring contracts like Hickey, Komarov, Boychuk's gone, the RFAs, the Green, it adds up to like $25 million in cap space, and they just have to re-sign Ryan Pullock and Cal Clutterbuck, which, I mean, he'll probably take a discount from his 3.35. That'll probably be like $2 million or so. So $25 million is a lot of cap space they have to throw around this offseason and then going forward. So no, I don't think their window is closing.
Yeah, I was going to say contracts might be that, but I think it all depends on Ilya Sorokin. So if you get that. But everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where one of us forgot to silence their phone. I don't know whose it is. Mine is
That is
good.
not me. I
Because
always keep
all
my
right.
phone on silent.
That's kind of weird because I even silenced the computer to make sure that I
It's-
can't.
It's my phone's silent, but my phone is synced up with my
Okay. So there you go. All right. So anyway, we're going to be gauging NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Do you feel confident and you got to buy everybody around? You just a little bit, you just just want a beer, or you need a shot because no, absolutely not. So FIlip is poised for a breakout season, Mr. Fokowski.
I'm gonna say beer. I lean a little towards shot here, but I'm gonna say beer. I think it's more than possible. I think Quadzilla, as I like to call him now, because those quads are just massive. They're nuclear now. But I think that he's got a lot of potential. I think that he could be, at the very least, a very good middle six center, if not a good second line center. Now, here's the question. Who does he play with? Because line mates are important.
It's not Vitaly Kravtsov.
It's not going to be Vitaly Kravtsov, obviously. But who does he play with? What is his usage? Does he get any power play time? Does Gallant give the second unit any type of power play time? And if Ryan Strome starts to falter any bit, does he get to move up? So I just wonder how much of an opportunity he's going to get, because he actually posted some good numbers last year, despite not getting any power play time and playing third line minutes with two other players that were under the age of 21. So technically, this one's really hard for me, because I do think that with guys who could really win a lot of board battles and play better defense, I think that can allow him to do other things that will allow his offense to grow. But at the same time, it's usage. And I feel like he will be held back a little bit because of the way that Gallant will more than likely use him. So I'm going to say beer.
I'm going to go beer too. I want to buy everybody around. It depends how you want to define the words breakout, especially for a third line center. If he scores 20 goals, is that a breakout season? I think he might get 20. He looked so much the part in that last preseason game. Hopefully he gets started tonight with a goal versus the Washington Capitals. Anthony.
Yes.
I was going to go shot because in our rundown, it says FIlip has finally arrived. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, he had a really good preseason game, but I mean, that's ridiculous to insinuate he's arrived because of a good preseason game. So if that would have stood, I would have said shot, but this wording, I'm changing it to beer because he could break out. He's a good, skilled offensive player. There's no doubt about that. He skates well. But like as Filk mentioned, I think if he can get his game to where he could play the second line roles in center, that'd be better suited for him, because a third line center, I think he would need to really someone on his line that we can rely on to really be the responsible one and have good board play, because that's the one area of his game where he still needs to work on. But regardless of where he's used, second, third line center, he does have the skill to break out offensively and do like a 2020 season or a 2025 season. So for sure, it's definitely a possibility.
What were you missing, John?
Something wasn't updating with it because this wasn't in. Yeah, well, you know what? We'll talk about that later.
Okay. I don't. Technical problem.
Technical, yeah.
Right. The Islanders will regret cutting Eric Gustafson. Mr. LaRocco?
Beer. I mean, let's not pretend that they just cut like Cale Makar off the roster, but I mean he would have been an offensive providing left-hand defense. I mean, Chara and Andy Green behind Pelech aren't going to give you a lot of offense, so that regard for sure. I think the one thing we're all in agreement on, Eric Gustafson really is not great in his own end, so that's why I'm not too broken up about it. But at the same time, I think he would have been good on the power play. And, had a better mobile, similar Nick Leddy skating the puck out of trouble defenseman on the left side. But ultimately, as Dave Pignon said, they couldn't make the money work. The Islanders right now are squeezed for cap, and they couldn't get it done. So Green, Chara have to step up. Sebastian Aho. I mean, he'll have, if he does get in the lineup. He's a good skating defenseman, so he'll have to play his part. But it would have been nice to have him, but it's not the end of the world. So that's why I'm going with Beer. But I wish him well in Chicago, and who knows, maybe he can get back to the level that he was once at.
Filk?
Shot. I don't see how they even feel his loss. Listen, I get that you were looking to him to kind of come in and run the power play. I always thought that he wasn't good in his own end and at even strength, that he might have been a problem for them. So I think especially if Robin Salo comes in, and Robin Salo looks to at least be able to be a decent puck mover at even strength and be even average in his own zone, I really don't think they're going to have much of a problem with cutting Erik Gustafsson. And really, let's just say he goes to Chicago, which he did, and he puts up, 40, 50 points. Sure, it looks bad. It's a bad optic, but would he have done the same thing in the Island? I would venture to probably say no. I think that Barry Trotz's system probably wouldn't have allowed him to play that way at even strength. And ultimately, I really don't think he's that much of a difference maker on the Island. So I'm going to say shot.
I'm going shot too. As much as I think the Islanders need a power play point man, and as much as they need a power play trigger man, I don't think it's Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson has been okay. His only good season was when he was playing with Patrick Kane on that power play unit. Other than that, meh. So he's been to Calgary, he's been to Montreal, the Islanders, and now back to Chicago. So I'm not a believer unless you need to find somebody on the waiver wire in your fantasy league. But
he is. He's playing on the second pair at Noah Dobson. Which, being a power play, Noah Dobson's going to get a lot of power play time. And Mark, they do have the trigger man and Pullock. Pullock has one of the hardest shots in the league on the back end for a defenseman.
Yeah, but
so
why? I mean, I thought he was going to develop into something great, and he's just been. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong.
He's one of those guys who sometimes just does not get his shot on net enough for how powerful it is. Yeah, if he gets it on net and there's some sort of screen, chances are it'll probably go in at that point. But that it's not nearly enough, and you need better from your trigger man, no matter how hard their shot actually is. So for me, Ryan Pullock is not like he's not your ideal trigger man. Do you like the fact that he shoots double digits? Yeah. But you don't like the fact that he just doesn't get it on net nearly enough.
He does have a bomb. It's just you just wish it would get on that. A conversation that was brought up earlier by our Anthony Laraco when he was talking to Dave Pagnotta the fourth period. Nick Suzuki's extension should be comparable for Brady Tkachuk. Filk.
Yeah, you know what? In a way, yes. I'm going to say Beer here. And part of Nick Suzuki's figure is going to be because of the fact that Montreal bought out UFA years from him by giving him so many years. And that's why Suzuki got the higher figure that he got. Suzuki's success also carries over into the playoffs, which isn't fair for Brady Tkachuk playing on a rebuilding team. Montreal wasn't seen. I said Montreal could be a dark horse before the start of last season. I didn't think they could go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals the way that they did. I thought that maybe they could be a conference finalist, depending on the run of luck that they got in their opponents. But at the same time, they had that run. So Nick Suzuki was really good in the playoffs, and look at what's happened. So that's part of why he's gotten that. For me, Brady Tkachuk has scored at a slightly lesser pace in his two seasons. He's been about a 50-point pace in each of his two seasons so far. His numbers between his first and his second seasons were pretty much identical. Which, I mean, if you're looking for a 50-point player going forward, the deal would not be ideal, but it is going to be a comparable. So Do I like it? No, but I understand that it's going to be. So I guess I'm going to have to say round here because it's going to end up being comparable.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'm gonna go round. Nick Suzuki and Brady Tkachuk in their season so far have put up similar points. I didn't expect Suzuki to honestly get close because 8 years, 63 million. So that's just shy of 8. I didn't expect him to get that much, but he did. And Brady Tkachuk has been a guy that's been asking for 8 or even more in some cases. So it'll be interesting to see what he ultimately lands at. But I think what might come into play here is Brady Tkachuk wants a shorter term deal. So. I don't know if the Senators are going to give him, $8-9 million over 3 years, but I guess we'll have to see. But when it comes down to it, it is going to be comparable.
I'm going to buy everybody around on this one too. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say shot completely, but it's going to be used as a comparable. I guess, you know what? Should it be? Yeah, shot then. I'm going to go with that because it shouldn't be. One's a center, one's a wing. There you go. Centers make more money. That simple. And if you want to, if you want to make more money, start skating a little bit more. That might not be as clear cut as that. Do you know what I'm saying? Phil Kessel will be the first big trade of the season. I'm going to start on this one. You know what? I'm buying again because the reason why I think Arizona's going to want to move him sooner, get him out, and before there's any injury, and have a team that can use him and eat some of that cap space. By the way, he finally comes off of Toronto's books, I think, after this season. So, Anthony.
Well, yeah, because he's a free agent at the end of this year. So,
and it's still the Toronto deal.
Yeah, no, I understand that they're retaining, but the contract ends. So obviously the all the retention comes off for any team. But I'm going to say shot here because I even though Dave said before that he thinks that this could drag on, I think that Dylan Strome will be dealt before him. I think Chicago has an excess of centers. I think they're going to want a piece for him. I just wonder if it's going to be a defender or if it's going to be a winger. So I think Dylan Strome will probably be the first big trade of the season.
Anthony,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go beer because prior to the news about Dylan Strome, I think it was definitely going to be Phil Kessel. The fourth period reported about a week or two ago that Arizona stated that Phil Kessel wasn't in their plans and that he could expect to be traded this season. But it seems like Dylan Strome's pending deals seems to be more imminent. So. That's why I'm saying here. But Phil Kessel's definitely going to be traded. His actual dollars versus cap hit, I think, makes him attractive to a lot of teams. And I think that there's definitely going to be a contender who maybe struggles, maybe right early out of the gate with scoring that makes a move quickly to get him. Because I think I don't think he's going to go until the deadline. I think he's going to be traded within the first, 2 months of the season, maybe. So, and I think he can provide a lot. But I just think Dylan Strome's going to be traded first, so beer.
The Blue Jackets are rushing Cole Sillinger, and you asked this question to our guest, Anthony, so go ahead, answer it.
Pagnotta said shot, but I mean, if you look at the Blue Jackets center depth, you can kind of see why he made the team this year. It's not after Max Domi, it's not very good, and he's always flipping between wing and center too. So I think they wanted a true center. He was just picked in the first round, highly regarded. As we know, his dad was a very good player in this league, was a journeyman, but not journeyman in a bad way because people didn't want him. He was a solid player for a long time. But Cole Sillinger, I think, is a little different than his dad. I think he's a little more skilled offensively, and I think he's going to have a really good career. My worry is just I didn't really expect him to make the team out of camp, and you look to a lot of players, like actually Barrett Hayton is a perfect example. We were talking about him earlier with the Coyotes. He played after his draft year, and you could tell he wasn't ready. And I think sometimes you got to be real careful with that because you can sometimes harm a player's development by placing them in the league when they're not ready. But they have the option of sending them back to junior after 9 games, so they're not committed to having him the whole year. I just think he might need a little bit more time, and they're kind of putting him in the lineup because they really need help at center ice. So I'm gonna go round. I respect my buddy Pagnotta a lot. He's one of the best, but I'm gonna go round there.
Filk.
This one's tough because we haven't seen their camp. I mean, we've heard that he's looked good, but at the same time, their depth is just so bad at center. Like Anthony said, there's obviously a bit of an element of them rushing him to the point where if they're considering this and he's actually going to start the season on their roster, that they are rushing him. So I gotta say round, just because of the fact that if you've got this kid up because he's a natural center and there's nobody else on your roster aside from maybe Max Domi that can really fit that role, then that's a big problem to me. I don't know if that's in the best interests of Cole Sillinger. Maybe we all end up being wrong, and maybe he wins the Calder Trophy for all we know. He comes out and he absolutely explodes. He ends up playing with Patrick Laine, and Patrick Laine has like a 40-goal season. Cole Sillinger wins the Calder. But I just don't think this is a smart move as of this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but round.
I'm going to say shot. And the reason why I'm going to go with this is because of his background. When you have your father that played in the league for about 20 years in 10 different teams, and yes, he played on 10 different teams, so there were plenty of teams that didn't want him, but there was definitely 10 that did. So he can at least teach him the ropes and at least keep his mental makeup right. If it was first generation, I would definitely agree with you guys buying everybody around. But if he does falter at all, pick up the phone. Hey, Dad, what's going on? How do I deal with this? That's the advantage some of these kids have. Like a Kiefer Bellows still with the New York Islanders right now and still trying to make the roster instead of, I don't know, not accepting a demotion. So kind of a little bit of a dig at someone else right now. With Barkov and Zibanejad extended, Tomas Hertl is the best free agent center of 2022. I'm starting this one, and you guys are drinking because he definitely is. I can't think of another guy. Anybody. A definite free agent next year, it's definitely going to be Tomas Hertl. So, Anthony.
So you changed this on me a little bit. Originally, I just posed best free agent, period, not as, regardless of position. So that changes things a little bit because originally Filip Forsberg is set to be a UFA, and I personally think Filip Forsberg is the prize.
All right, I could change it to the forward if you want.
Of the offseason. I think Forsberg is very underrated in Nashville. I think the guy's shot is ridiculous, and he's got
I'll be seeing him next week.
Yeah. But I mean, Hertl, Forsberg. Count older guys like Bergeron, who will probably just re-sign with the teams. Then you have to throw them into the mix, but that seems like a formality. But yeah, I think Hertl and Forsberg, Giroux to an extent, but he might be in the same boat as Bergeron, maybe less so, being that he already stated they're not talking extension, so who knows? But yeah, I can't think of anybody, unless you guys can. I can't think of anybody better than Hertl and Forsberg in this year's free agent class. So, I mean, round, I suppose. I know it was switched a little bit, but in this exact one, best center, yeah, it's definitely Hertl.
Do we consider Claude Giroux a center? Do we consider him a winger at this point? Because he's primarily...
That's a great question. He's played more wing, but he still takes faceoffs.
Well, Couturier takes a lot of faceoffs too.
Yeah.
So,
which says something, because Claude Giroux was a very good faceoff man. And how better?
I'm going to have to consider Claude Giroux a wing, because that line for the last 2 or 3 seasons, since 2018, that line has been Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to consider Claude Giroux a winger. I'm with Anthony on Bergeron. I don't think he makes it there. And I think even if he does, he's re-signing there, and it's more like a formality than anything because I can't see him going anywhere else. So I'm going to say round here and say Hurdle's the best. I don't know. If you would have said forward, I would have gone with Forsberg, but center, definitely Hurdle.
All right. And one last one. If any of you guys watched some of the games last night, ESPN made a triumphant return to broadcasting hockey. Filk?
I'm buying everybody around there. I thought their presentation was great. I think the only problem they had really was in the Seattle-Vegas game with the microphones early on in the game. Something that it sounded like it was echoing. I know other people on Twitter I saw that I followed were asking the same question, and they thought it was just their TV. Nope, that was ESPN. But, I mean, Butchie and AJ and Bush were all great together.
They were fantastic.
They were fantastic together, those three. Butchie's energy is unparalleled, really, at this point. I say in terms of the active play-by-play guys. I mean, it was great to have Steve Levy with Mess, Shelley, and the mullet himself, Barry Melrose. I thought that was awesome. That brought back so many good memories of my childhood with Levy and Melrose, and then bringing on Mess and Shelley. That was great. And then just the first crew, it was really cool to have Chicken Parm back. I love Ray Ferraro. I loved Ferraro on TSN with his World Junior and NHL coverage in TSN. Sean McDonough, I didn't think did a bad job. But that crew will learn to gel together, and their presentation and everything. And the fact that they had Brandon Moreno from the UFC at the Vegas game, doing the wheel and signing everybody up, and firing everybody up and doing the pregame ritual and stuff like that. I mean, ESPN is already getting the game out to more people than NBC did in 10 years. And ESPN's had it back for what? How long so far?
Yeah, so, and NBC made it basically the center of their sports coverage, but they didn't mention it as much on Sunday Night Football and stuff like that. Like, really?
No.
How are they not doing that?
Yeah, you figured they would, but they never did, which was just amazing. And then just the video with the theme song. Oh, please. You just you hit me right in the feels with it.
Well, I'm buying everybody around on this, and I got to tell you, this is sort of reminiscent of Fox came in and they had an opportunity to change things around. I'm just going to pull Anthony out for a minute, and when he gets back in, he'll just come back in. But where Fox had a chance to inject some more energy and ESPN still did their thing, hopefully that's exactly what we're going to be seeing, guys, because AJ Malesko did a great job.
AJ's great.
I mean,
she really is.
She's fantastic. They're going to be bringing in a lot of hockey personalities, but ESPN is probably going to be the more straight-laced one. And there he is. There's the man himself. And then they're going to have TNT. Hopefully TNT is the one that's just weird stuff and funny things. So there you go. Anthony?
Sorry, I take a call. Around.
You are allowed to take calls. It's okay.
ESPN did a great job. I thought Butcher Gross was great. I liked Ray Ferraro. I liked the presentation. And then the music. I mean, how can you not love the music? The music just gave you chills thinking about when you were a kid. It was awesome. And it's already paying dividends. I mean, you see, I didn't see it because I was away and I didn't watch the game, but I saw that Crosby was on halftime on Monday Night Football.
All right.
That would have never happened if the NHL wasn't on ESPN. And also too, Gary Bettman was on Good Morning America, like Channel 7 a couple of days ago. And obviously because ABC is the parent companies of ESPN and Disney. So yeah, they're gonna get all this good exposure from being back on ESPN, which we discussed a while back about being great for hockey. But yeah, I thought ESPN did a great job, and I'm really curious to see TNT tonight. And I don't know if you guys saw Charles Barkley's going to be on tonight. TNT.
Yes.
On the premium, yeah. So, yeah, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be entertaining. So I'm really excited about it.
All right, because again, the one thing I said when they announced this was get Barkley on there, because
Yeah,
he's just and him and Shaquille O'Neal will just go in and be a big kid. So, yeah, that's
Sorry.
true. It's so good.
Yeah.
But and the NHL has gotten a lot of positive press this week on ESPN as you know, the NFL and one of their former analysts has got some negative press this week. So that's a different story right there.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
No, we're not. That's what I'm not.
Good.
It's just saying everything's hunky dory with the NHL right now.
Saturday night, Rich. Saturday night. Not tonight. Saturday night. AEW Dynamite, everybody.
That's right. So, all right, guys. What are your thoughts on the NHL going back to ESPN? And are you like Filk singing along to the theme song right now? Dun 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 dun.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. What do you think about Filip? Is he finally going to be breaking out this year? Are the Islanders going to regret getting rid of Erik Gustafsson? Put it all down in the comments below. And because we actually thought we were going to be running a little bit longer than what we did, we wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for Q&A because especially with the Ranger game coming on and being the season opener, I was looking to get out of here in about 6:15. But you know what? We got half an hour for Q&A, guys. So let's go. All right. Let's take some
away.
Yeah, we'll start off by something that I've been watching. And Mike, yeah, I saw that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But yes, Darren Dreger had just tweeted probably about, I would say 40 minutes ago or so, that there is good interest in Vitaly Kravtsov. I'm told he's willing to play in the AHL with another NHL club and consider a one-year agreement around his qualifying offer for next season. However, the Rangers are expecting the potential of top six talent in return via trade.
Let me just tell you.
That's why I think Dylan Strome might end up being an option.
So I know Penny, when he asked if there's any chance of like a reconciliation, when the fact that he refused to report to Hartford because he wanted to play in the AHL, but the fact that he's willing to play for another NHL team's AHL affiliate tells you that he's pretty much done with the Rangers.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah,
someone did something behind the scenes and he's pissed.
Yep. But the Rangers would have to loan him to another AHL team, and there's precedent. During the whole Ho-Sang saga, the Islanders loaned Ho-Sang to I'm trying to remember what AHL team it was. Doesn't matter. Oh, the maybe it was the Blues affiliate, Peoria. They had loaned him there. So you can loan a guy to another AHL team. It just doesn't happen very often. But I don't see why the Rangers would do that. I mean, it seems like the Rangers are either gonna let him sit until he's traded. So I don't know if they would accommodate that for him. But yeah, that's to me that speaks volumes that he's willing to play for another AHL team aside from the Rangers, which is, you know,
he's done. He's been jerked around. This organization is obviously just doesn't know how to handle their prospects, and he's done with their shit. And I don't blame him at this point. Is it a good look on him to go back and take his ball and go home? No. But when they're playing games the way that they have, and they've done it with several prospects at this point, then I can't blame the players anymore. I can't. Yeah. At some point, this has to fall on the organization, and to me, it's now. You gotta start to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. Something is not right, and the organization is to blame as well. And honestly, they're more to blame than the player at this point. They are.
Like Rich, I get your sentiments, but you have to understand that it does. While to you it seems like he's being a baby or sulking about it, you have to think of like where. So again, he's a Russian player. A lot of these guys, to them, it doesn't make sense to go play in the AHL where they're making peanuts. They don't speak the language. They're riding, but the AHL is not a glamorous life. You ride buses to a lot of your games. In some cases, they play 3 games in a row. It's for a guy like him. I could see why he wouldn't want any part of it. And then on top of that, when you add on the fact that he made it seem like he was going to make the team, I can understand why he's upset. So that's why I don't blame Krasov. I don't think he's being a baby or anything like that. I think he's tired of the organization's crap, for better word, and he's not and he's done with it. So I know it sucks because you invested in him, you picked him in the first round, but I don't put this on Krasov, especially if he was told or led to believe he had a roster spot after the Buchnevich trade.
Leave the dad jokes to Marc, Sean. Please leave the dad jokes to Marc.
So there you go.
But that's the problem, though. Like you turn around and you tell this kid one thing, then another thing happens, and then you do it to him again. And he was good enough 2 years ago in the preseason to make the team, but Quinn said no because we want more toughness. And what did that toughness do? It was Michael Haley, Brendan Smith on your fourth line. And that line was an absolute unmitigated disaster. They were terrible. And the team got better when that fourth line was improved by Phil DiGiuseppe. Yikes.
Yeah.
So, you say it's not a matter of being a baby and being professional. How about we start shifting a little bit of a blame to the organization and hold them accountable for not being professional, and hold them accountable for botching things, and hold them accountable for making the wrong decisions and handling their players the wrong way. You're supposed to put your assets in positions to succeed. If you're not going to do that, then how are you going to grow as an organization? And this organization has not done that. They've not done a good job of that. And it's time for people to start realizing this.
I think there's a lot of blame to go around everywhere. Krasov, sorry, he didn't make the team right away. But on the other hand, I do agree with you on this. He was basically promised a roster spot. They told him not to bother with rookie camp or prospect camp.
Thank you.
And
yeah, that sends a message.
I mean, as far as I didn't even think about it. It wasn't until Sunday when Granny mentioned it, and I'm going, no, you know what? He's going to make the team because it's not contractually in their best interest to just dump him. Okay, well, apparently it is.
Here's it, Rich. So if he's not as good as everyone has thought, then why are they telling him that he doesn't have to go to rookie camp then? Can you answer that question? Can you answer that question in good faith?
Well, here's the problem. We don't know if they thought that right away. And then he got to camp and he wasn't exactly
okay. So that's on them for not doing their due diligence and telling him that beforehand.
Yeah.
So
I agree with.
They screwed up either way.
And that this comment right here, you can also tie back to the pick itself. Again, they kind of went off the board with him. They could have had Wallstrom, they could have had Noah Dobson, they could have had Joel Farabee, Joel Farabee's been great with Philly.
Yep.
So if it was a matter of, I just think there's so many things that could be tied into this. The draft status overall.
So then if you don't know what's happening there, then why are you calling him a baby? Why are you calling him a little twat, as you called him? That doesn't make any sense. You can't call him that if you're going to admit to that. That's a contradiction.
Well, I didn't know if he was saying that Krasov just sounds like it's actually something in there.
No, you can't say that, though. You cannot say that.
Okay.
You can't say that his head is wrong if you don't know what's going on. Because you don't have an idea. You're telling me.
Well, that's why the dust has to settle on this, Phil. We're going to find out sooner or later. We're going to find out. What
are you going to find out? You're not going to find out.
Eventually, he's going to talk to another press.
Nobody's going to find out anything about that.
But please, if this was Lou Lamoriello, we would never hear anything from this kid or the situation ever again. The Rangers have been leaking more than the Titanic.
That is
So-
true.
Lou Lamoriello would have handled it the right damn way, and nobody would question Lou Lamoriello. Not even just because of the horsehead jokes, but because of the fact that Lou Lamoriello knows what he... Okay, so speculation. So everything you're saying is speculation, correct?
Well, that's what he's saying, yeah.
Like, yeah, speculation. So then stop speculating on something that you really don't have an idea of then.
But that's
I know
actually
for a
what
fact.
he's tuning in for to see.
I know for a fact that
Lou.
they told
Big
him not to
Lou.
go to rookie camp because that was reported.
Yeah,
And that's why
that
there's
is
a
actually what
problem.
was reported.
This was what was reported. So everything that I'm going on is not speculation. These are facts. Lias Anderson, what happened to him is the same thing. That's a fact. We've
But
already
again,
seen
it's drawing in. We're trying to fill in the blanks on this, and that's what the hardest part is. There's a lot of blanks. Because
Is there?
again, I'll
I
go
don't-
back
I don't-
to the freshest eyes is Gerard Gallant. Gerard Gallant didn't sit there and go, "We need this kid on the team."
Mark, I don't know if there's a lot of facts that would be filled in. I think it's as simple as for whatever reason the front office didn't want to lose Libor Hayek or Dryden Hunt on waivers. It just I think that's
If
what
that
it
was the
comes down to.
case.
I think that's
Libor Hayek. Oh my
Oh,
God.
it's obvious. It's obvious, and it's not unreasonable. Teams don't like to lose assets for nothing.
Okay.
And if you were a general manager, you wouldn't want to do it either. I'm not. Listen,
But it's
I'm not
Dryden
saying-
Hunt. That's a problem. And it's Libor Hayek. And Libor Hayek has been with this organization for 1, 2, 3. This will be Libor Hayek's 4th year in the organization.
No,
Libor Hayek has not shown you anything worth a damn
Nope.
to the point where you should be prioritizing losing him to waivers over your top 10 pick, who actually shows some sort of sign of potential. It's just backwards asset management.
I totally agree with you. I'm just saying I think that's teams don't like to lose assets for nothing, regardless of what we think of them, and they didn't want to expose any of them to waivers. I mean, look at the ridiculousness of what Big Lou went through just to avoid sending Kiefer Bellows on waivers. The guy didn't register his contract until after rosters were due.
Yep.
I
That
mean,
right there. If the kid has character issues, it's still on the organization to figure that out on the scouting process, which again falls on the organization. So if you're going to turn around and say, "Oh well, Kravtsov was a mistake," then blame the team. Then finally start shifting blame toward the team. And not only that, but if something happened between the time that they told him that he didn't have to go to rookie camp and now, then again, I will refer back to the point that I made right before that. You should have never told him that he didn't have to go to rookie camp with a new head coach.
Yeah. Now, part of it is, and we had this. I had this conversation earlier. But part of it also is Kravtsov's not being a team player. He didn't make it right away. I just don't understand why he's not on the NHL roster. We're carrying 8 defensemen. I know why they're carrying 8 defensemen, because Jared Tenorti is about as good as a cone, and then Libor Hayek is the next man up. Really?
But again, look at what you're saying. They're carrying 8 defensemen. You had to know, and everybody had to know, that Jared Tenorti, Ryan Reeves, Sammy Blais, Barclay Goodrow, and a lot of the guys that they brought in for the muscle and the grit were going to be playing opening night against the Capitals because of the whole Tom Wilson thing. That's fine. That is completely understandable. But what does Libor Hayek give you there? And why was he not sent down? That's what I want to know.
because
By the way, I got to
they
stop.
wanted-
I got to
they
stop
wanted-
and say one thing real quick, guys. We have our first momentous moment. We have a super chat. Thank you very much
Thank you.
Thank
MT.
you.
for
Thank you,
donating. And
Thank
one of the
you,
reasons
Nick.
why we do
appreciate
this
that.
Yes,
is for
thank
you guys.
very much.
Anthony.
I mean, Phil, to answer your question, it's pretty simple. They didn't want to risk exposing Hayek on waivers, and it's just
Again, bad
it's
asset
just-
management.
yeah, it is bad asset management because now you kept a player who probably would have cleared, and now you lost a top 10 prospect.
Merch, yes.
that more merch will be coming at some point.
And I wouldn't call him a bust. Is Filip Zadina a bust from that same draft class? Zadina hasn't had much success yet either, but all these kids are still young. So I think it's still a little too early to call him a bust. If you want to call anybody a bust, maybe Nolan Patrick or Cody Glass. I mean, they haven't really developed, but I wouldn't say Kravtsov's
Nolan Patrick's actually had a couple of decent seasons at the NHL level. Nolan Patrick needed a change of scenery. And you know what? Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate that you love my passion. But I'm gonna call it how I see it. So you can't say things like Kravtsov is a bust. There's nothing to support that.
It's passion. Passion goes two ways too. So that's what conversations are.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm not going to disrespect anybody, but I am going to call it out how I see it. So if you're telling me that Vitaly Kravtsov is a bust, I'm going to tell you that you're objectively wrong because of the fact that we don't have a basis for that yet. There's no baseline yet. You want to come back in 3 years and Vitaly Kravtsov's in the KHL? Yeah, then Vitaly Kravtsov's a bust at that point. Fine, no problem. But at this point, jury's still out.
And again, it can't be just oh well. Okay, here we go. This is say they're not wanting to admit Gorton blew the McDonough trade. It doesn't matter what the trade is because the key part of that trade is Nils Lundkvist. That's what matters. Libor Hayek was supposed to be part of the solution. He's not. Brett Howden was supposed to be part of the solution. He's not. And Vlad Nemestikov was supposed to have any value. He didn't. He had a second-round pick. So all that stuff doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the development of Nils Lundkvist. That's the only thing that matters about that trade.
And yeah, and you know what? The trade's already an L. You want to know why? Because you traded away JT Miller, and yes, JT Miller himself said that it took him the trade to Vancouver to really realize that he needed to wake up and take things a little more seriously. Fine. But you traded Miller away from Nemestikov. You missed on Howden. You missed on Hayek. The trade's already an L, and Tampa Bay got the best player out of it and won 2 cups, partially because of that trade. But just take the loss, move on from that, admit that you made a mistake, and try to get what you can get out of Nils Lundkvist. If your trade, looking like anywhere okay, hinges on the development of a prospect that you got out of a first-round pick, then you know you've already lost the trade. So I can't say that even if Nils Lundkvist develops, that it's a win. If he develops and he develops into the key contributor that we all think that he can be, at that point, it's only a little bit of a loss as opposed to a complete disaster.
It's a question of you don't know what it's going to be when you initially make the trade. And then when it happens, can you develop that player? And that's on 2 things. It's on the organization and the player. The player needs to buy into what the organization wants him to do. And it's whether or not the player can live up to that expectation.
Yeah, and this is a funny one. Would we rather Anderson and Kravtsov pans out in hopes to get to the front office fine? No, you know what? Honestly, at this point, I don't even know what to say there, because either way, it's a lose. I don't want the organization to I don't want it to be like, okay, you screwed up and the Ranger fans saving sanity. I want what's best for my team. And I don't think the organization knows what's best for the team right now, or they think that they have an idea and they're completely off the mark on it.
I'm going to change around your wording on this just a little bit. Not that I would hope that they're busts. I would hope that the talent evaluators are right, because if the talent evaluators aren't evaluating the talent properly,
that's a bigger problem.
That's a much bigger problem. And here's a question for you. Who's the last guy that left the New York Rangers and you went, oh, God, that was a mistake?
JT Miller.
All right. Yeah, but JT Miller still took some time. I mean, even with JT Miller, I went,
His first year in Vancouver, so it really only took like 2 years.
Yeah, but it took 2 years after being in Tampa Bay for a few more years. I mean, all right, so fine, JT Miller. But, I mean, I wasn't really that big on Kevin Hayes.
And Johnny brings up a good point here. This is it. You don't agree with the demotion or agree with him not taking the demotion, but he definitely has a right to be upset.
He's right to be upset, but the thing is did he go, hey, I'm not on the team, I want to be traded? Or did he take some time to consider that? And his path up the ladder might be blocked. That's something that people have to consider.
Maybe that's part of it.
Whether you're New York Yankees shortstop for
but if that's the case, why are you trading away Pavel Buchnevich for Sammy Blais and a second-round pick? With the expectation that Vitaly Kravtsov is going to come up and be a core contributor for you going forward, only to have Vitaly Kravtsov somehow not make the team when you need offense. I get Chris Kreider's moved over, but why is Chris Kreider, who's going to be traded in probably about 3 years, a priority over a guy who's supposed to be a big part of your future?
It's a good question to ask, because if Kravtsov didn't have to play with Brett fucking Howden last year and could have showed off what he did, because the only highlight we have of him is we got his disallowed goal. We have the goal that he scored for his first NHL goal. I think there was one more, but then there was the one in Boston at the very end of the year. So, and the one in Boston looked like he sniped it. So,
I'm with Rich on this.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, there's no way that you're going to try to pull wool over my eyes and tell me that Dryden Hunt and Julien Gauthier outplayed Vitaly Kravtsov handily to the point where Vitaly Kravtsov had to be sent down. I'm sorry, but there's no way in hell you're ever going to get that one over on me.
And Johnny, I agree with you on this. No player should ever quit on his teammates. Well, yeah, they're not exactly his teammates yet.
But yeah, that's the thing. They're not his teammates, and he's not quitting on them. He's not, because he's
quitting
not
on the organization. But then again, stuff like this happens, and a guy reconsiders, comes back. Like if the Rangers get an injury tomorrow, let's say they get an injury. Let's say it's let's say Ryan Reeves breaks his hand, breaking Tom Wilson's face today, as we all hope. But then in that case, he goes to IR. Kravtsov's on that team. So
something doesn't seem right. Like there had to be something. I said this when they sent him down, and the whole thing came out a few days ago about him requesting the trade. Something is happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. I don't know what it is. And I said this during the whole Dolan and the regime changing. Something is still happening behind the scenes. It's something's not right. Something is not right with all this.
And again, the guy that we all thought was going to make the team was Morgan Barron. So he didn't. But then again, he already played in Hartford. He's going to go back down there.
Morgan Barron played very well in Hartford.
Yeah. I mean, thanks, Johnny.
Yeah.
And by the way, good luck on your back surgery that's coming up.
Yeah, good luck on that, man.
Yeah.
Please let us know how it goes if you have the ability to do so at some point.
There was talk about them shopping Kravtsov this entire offseason.
I don't think there was talk about that. I think he did change agents. He went to Darren Milstein, so he has a new agent. So the words that I think that I remember, Chris Johnston or was it maybe Pierre LeBrun? I'm not sure who said it, but I think it was Johnston. Said that, yeah, I'm with you there, Shannon. There's something's not right with all this. I'm going to continue to say it because something just does not make sense.
That dog won't hunt, Monsignor.
Yeah, but he changed agents, and I whether it was in anticipation of this or not, so that does to me that's a sign. Something's got to be up behind the scenes. If he's changing agents in anticipation of this, then what does that tell you about what's going on back there?
Yeah. And I mean, it shouldn't always be that difficult to part of me also believes this kid also thinks he was entitled to a spot. But if the Rangers told him that, then that's where it comes in.
No. That's not.
I think it's more Eddie. I think
true,
it was
Eddie.
more on his talent level.
No, he wasn't always in the Eichel rumors. The Eichel rumors and the price that was actually asked of by Buffalo included Chytil, first round pick, and one of Nils Lundqvist or Braden Schneider. It was not that he was. It's not that he was always a part of them. I don't remember his name swirling around, maybe by fans, but.
All right, but let's put this in terms of Kravtsov has a two-way deal. Hayek probably does not, or he's out of options. I mean, if to use a baseball term. So, but again, the look on your face says it all. We're going to lose Vitaly Kravtsov for Libor Hayek?
Again, that's why I said the asset management there is just piss poor. Piss poor.
Sean, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. But it's piss poor. You're prioritizing a defender who's never really going to stick in the NHL, at least from the looks of it right now. So, yes, he's young, but he shows you no sign of being anything worth it. And if he sticks in the NHL, it's probably as like a sixth, maybe a fifth defenseman if he's lucky. And yes, Johnny.
I'll have my mother say a prayer.
Yes, definitely in our thoughts, man. But how are you prioritizing a player like Hayek over a player like Kravtsov, who actually has good draft pedigree and has actually shown you signs of being something good?
Oh, never mind that. I mean, now granted, by the way, you trade let's say it's sort of like a where do we go from here? And you trade Kravtsov, move him for, say, Dylan Strome. I don't know if there's...
I love this comment because it's so true. And yeah, Rich is right. Gallant had to have input, but
yeah,
I don't know if
and again, if you had the fresh pair of eyes, let me just say this as a positive thing. And I am fishing completely on this. I don't think my eyes bulging out of my head could have said it more. Let's say hypothetically he looks at Dryden Hunt and sees another Riley Smith, and he wants to keep him on the team. That could be possibly it. Or, again, Kravtsov impressed but didn't wow, and other guys wowed. It could be that simple too. Now, but the problem is,
this comment right here. I want to get to Johnny's right after, just because.
Yeah,
but this is it. There's no spot here going forward for him. So why are you prioritizing him?
Johnny, for you first, you click on where you make the comment. There's a $sign that's right below that, or I think you can hit thanks on the bottom of the video. So we'll see about that. Well, you know what? Let's go back. Oh, we're gonna go back to this. I've said this yesterday in all of our group chats, including one with Statboy Steven. The only way to me that Hayek should be on this roster is if somehow he becomes Selma Hayek. Get him the fuck out of here. He's not going to be anything more than a sixth defenseman, possibly at best. Thank you, Petey.
Thank you, Petey. Much appreciated.
It's that simple. What are you doing? If you're risking this, and I'm this is from, there's plenty of blame to go around in this situation as we keep talking about. But
okay.
It's just
I'll go to Bobby Ganoush's point here. Okay. Even if Dryden Hunt looked good in training camp, which I'm not saying he looked bad. I don't think he looked great. He wasn't an eye opener. He didn't look bad, but he's still a fringe NHL player. Why are you prioritizing that over the development of a top 10 pick? Why? Give me a reason why that you would prioritize somebody who has zero or next to zero chance of being a key contributor to this team's future over a player that has a somewhat significant chance.
Let me go further into that. You got a guy who's already been traded from one organization to another. Oddly enough, by the way, Hayek was traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Hold on. He answered. Hold on. So I got a follow-up question to that. So because he's a better bottom six player than your top prospect, which objectively you can't really say that. Otherwise, you're going on an age-old stereotype that really doesn't apply anymore in today's NHL, if that's why you're saying that. Yeah. So if that's your logic, you want to risk the development of an asset that could be something good for you for a third liner? Oh my God. I can't.
I mean, again, so then you get, so never mind that, because again, let's be honest. The ceiling on Kravtsov is top six winger. So but we already know the ceiling on Hayek. Hayek has already been through the Arizona organization, the Tampa organization. He's been through the Rangers organization. Yeah, because he was traded for D'Angelo.
No, Hayek was a Tampa draft pick.
Oh, my bad. Well, he was traded for Tony D'Angelo. I do know that. Anyway, but all right, we're gonna try to figure that one out. He's not gonna be on the team anymore soon, anyway. But it's so you got a guy that's been through 3 to 4, how many organizations, and he still can't crack the NHL lineup. Doesn't know what he's doing. So. By the way, everybody, what's your predictions on opening night tonight? Are the Rangers going to win tonight? Keep it close and lose? Get the doors blown off? Or are they going to be the ones that blow?
Is Ovechkin playing?
That is a great question, and I don't think he is. But that also might help him.
If Ovechkin's not playing, because we know Backstrom's he went on long-term injury reserve, so he's not playing. So I mean, if the Rangers are smart, they jump all over Washington, and they only get and Petey's right. You're mixing up D'Angelo and which was traded for Anderson and Stepan, and so
we're gonna find that one out in a minute. By the way, Libor Hayek, a career 3 goals, 7 assists over the last 3 seasons. Yay, definitely.
But here's the issue. You're not wasting him on the third line because the third line isn't your prototypical dinosaur age check, no offense type of third line anymore. That's gone. That mentality's gone, Tomas. It's gone. It's gone, Bobby Ganoush. There's no that age-old, antiquated thing about your Detroit's grind line being your typical third line anymore. It's not like that anymore. It's not. There are skilled players on third lines. Look at Tampa Bay. Coleman's not a straight-up checker. The only straight-up checker on that line was Gaudreau. Coleman was a skilled player that could score and added some grit on top of that. Yanni Gourde was a skilled player. Buffalo in 2006, 2007 put skilled players on their third line, and they made it to what, a conference final? I mean, it just the whole stereotype about the checking lines is just, it's off, it's wrong, it's outdated, it's obsolete. It's
June 25th, 2016, Tampa Bay trades Anthony D'Angelo to the Arizona Coyotes for a second-round draft pick in 2016. Libor Hayek. My bad. So it was a draft pick. That was what it was.
Yeah, so Tampa made the draft pick. Yeah. But
again, it's just no. It's just
Tomas. And you know what, Tomas? If that's your opinion, that's fine. I'm not gonna. That's fine. I disagree.
Oh, we're not hating. We'll never hate you.
We'll never hate you for that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But you can't tell me that those guys handily outplayed him to the point where he should be sent down. Because there's nothing to show that. And if you want to say that there's nothing to show my point, fine. Fine. We're at an impasse, and that's fine with me.
We're going to start seeing the results as early as tonight. Well, by the way, everybody, it's 6:19 right now. We're going to take one more question and wrap this up because I got to get at least maybe one of the videos on before 7:30 and before I get out. So hopefully I could do that. If not, everything, including our conversation with Dave Pagnotta, will be tomorrow morning.
Hopefully. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you very much. Shannon's already been supporting me way too much. But then again, that's what the vodka's for.
Chytil scores 2. I'm on board with that, Shannon. I hope you're right.
There you go. Okay, who scores the first goal?
Wow.
By the way,
Musics, by the way, haven't seen you in a bit.
Now, wasn't it like 3 years in a row where the Rangers scored on the first shot of the season?
2007, 7 and 8.
And I think it happened on 9 too. Like 2 of them were Michael
Yager did it. Yager did it, I think, 2 years in a row. I think 7 and 8 Yager both did it. And I was there at both those games.
Now, I could care less who actually does it. This is the guy that I want to score that goal.
Yeah. Let's go on that. I think we can all agree on that.
Scores the first goal under this new regime. We're not talking about Vitaly Kravtsov anymore and possibly never again because this guy, he's got unlimited potential.
By the way, the Pierre Turgeon comment is Anthony probably putting that in because that's Anthony. That's what he does. He'll randomly put Pierre Turgeon from time to time. And Everest, no, Drury's not gone.
It'll take more than that. It'll take much more, and I think it would have to be an epic failure, and that would be news.
That would be funny. But this was the comment I was trying to click on, and then Dave's came up. And I just want to give you a disappointed face right now. Thank you, Rich.
By the way, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And as I said before, we have other projects that are going to be in development, other channels that are going to be coming from us, all under the media company that we're starting. And yes, I keep announcing it because
I promise I will get better lighting.
Yes, we're going to work on that too. But Mr. John Volkowski will be definitely hosting a wrestling channel. But there's so much more that we got going from this. Like we said, in our 1 year video, it's just the beginning. There's going to be so much more.
Thank you, Tomas.
And yeah, Tomas, again, you know, when we did this for a lot of reasons, not just. He's still in the green room, by the way. He's still in
I know. Theater. That's why I'm saying he's the one that's doing Pierre Turgeon, Benoit Hogue.
But yeah,
so both of those are absolutely accurate, Dave.
Yes. So, but we still got so many other projects that we're working on, and there's going to be a lot more of us in one way, shape, or form on the other, and still more, much more things that we want to add. We did the what if with Mario Lemieux last. As a matter of fact, it was all me, so it was even weirder. And yeah. So if you guys got extra suggestions, there is Mr. Larocco. One more moment.
Derek King, Patrick Flatley.
They're good. I love Derek King.
Dave Shazowski, Dean Chanelth. How did the Islanders always have guys with annoying names?
Weirdest name, Scott Sissons.
And here comes Brad Delgarno.
Baumgartner.
Yeah.
Some funny names.
Baumgartner, more like Bumgartner. But yes. Guys.
Bobby Bourne. You want to talk about a guy that could
absolutely
Bobby Bourne could skate.
Oh my God, he could absolutely skate. And my uncle has actually seen that in person. Yeah. He told me that Bobby Bourne could absolutely fly on the ice. And my uncle got to actually skate with him years ago when the Islanders would go to Long Beach in the offseason and play at the Long Beach rink. My uncle was scouted, and he had a full ride to Northeastern and got to play against a bunch of guys. Mullins, McPhee, Tonelli, Nystrom, Bobby Bourne. So first goal for Isles, you think will be Anders Lee, Shannon? So I'll note that. I think the Islanders. I think you know what I think the Islanders' first goal is probably going to be JG Pajot. I'm going to say Pajot.
That would make Anthony happy. I don't know why specifically Anthony.
And thank you, Granny. We appreciate that. Enjoy your hunts. A real good friend of mine is a bow hunter, and I'm waiting for him to get some venison for us because he makes some damn good venison. He had made some venison chili too, which I want to try. So.
Do you know what happens when you bring home venison?
What?
Your wife says, "Oh dear."
I wish you could see the look of disappointment on my face.
All time.
Yeah, but so yeah, it's and yeah, as you can see, Dave here has knows who I'm talking about. It's a friend of ours, so we'll be seeing him in a few minutes, actually. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot of stuff going. What's that?
What are you doing for the game?
Probably going to James's house, the guy who I was talking about with the venison.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, me and Dave will probably be going over there for that. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot more stuff on this channel. I just want to say I appreciate all the donations so far. I know, I mean, I could say that upon behalf of all three of us, but we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff in plans, and there's even more stuff that we haven't even talked about yet, which I'm not going to mention because we kind of want to surprise you guys a little bit, and I think you guys are going to like that stuff too. So there's a lot of big plans for this channel.
Content and different channels. There's like I said before, it's just the beginning for us. So, and things are only going to get better. So I'm actually going to drop back to the camera for a second because I'm starting to strike all this that I have. I just took off my lights. So
now I got to cook myself dinner before I go over there too. So.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be going out to timeout in Hicksville to watch the game. Hopefully not in as bad a shape I am golfing tomorrow. So I got to. Yeah.